Board, Dilip Bhatt, joint MD at Prabhudas Lilladher, joining us on the show right now. Dilip, hi, afternoon. Just discussing the prospects of IT, because that really is that one star performer, has been the case all of the year and no different today as well. But do you believe that there is no opportunity to buy afresh, or do you think the IT story is still going to go through for some more time?
Well, I think the IT story really got a leg up, or what you call it as a tailwind, in terms of the rupee depreciation, which really helped them quite a bit. But is there a very secular story building up in terms of, say, the volume growth, or in terms of, say, pricing power? I think all those things still remain in a very kind of apprehension zone at the moment, and added to that, there are quite a few uncertainties connected to what's happening in the US at the moment. So I think as far as IT is concerned, it has had a good run without any doubt, and even today I would say that it still qualifies as something which can provide a defense to your portfolio. But if you are looking for making some very proactive gains or something over a slightly longer period of time, I don't think that it's going to really outperform the indices in any meaningful way or so. So I would say that one has to be cautious as far as IT is concerned. Yes, in the uncertain times, it certainly should be taken as one of the bets to provide some defense to your portfolio. So I would still go by the fact that I would still wait and watch as far as IT is concerned, and still some clarity to emerge on that.
Away from IT, let's also talk about telecom, only because of the fact that there's also data coming in on the screen with respect to the September telecom data. And no surprises to see that it's Reliance Jio that emerges as the top of the pack, adding 1.3 crore users in September. Bharti Airtel has lost 23 lakh. Vodafone Idea has lost close to 26.3 lakh users. How are you looking at the disruption within the telecom space as a whole? We had a lot of damaging reports coming in on Vodafone Idea, saying that there is going to be a lot more pain down the line, market share loss, balance sheet being crunched. What's your assessment of telecom?
Well, I think some of the issues which you mentioned about the telecom really has been haunting all the investors now for quite some time. I think disruption being the foremost, which is really causing all the pain. But I think added to that, I would also say that in this particular scenario, when the ARPUs are not coming back, and there's still a fair amount of disruption that is playing out, the capital intensity of the business is really going up. So, you still have to make very huge investments just to ensure that you are not really left out in terms of the technology and in terms of the competition. So I think that being the case, it's something which is not really great for any sector to be in. So I would say that this sector still has been going through a lot of pains, will possibly continue to go through a lot of pains. So as far as Jio is concerned, it has very successfully disrupted this entire industry and will continue to do so. But interesting thing will be that how much investment Jio is going to make, and how quickly are they going to recover some of the money, or is there going to be a meaningful ROI on the investments that they have made, or how long one has to wait? I think some of these questions everybody is still trying to understand and interpret. So I think this sector, in my opinion, still is at the moment a no-go sector.
Okay. What about REC-PFC, Dilip? Amidst talks that the centre is considering a merger of the two to try and bridge the budget gap, what are the concerns? Why are the stocks getting clobbered so much?
Well, I think whenever there is any government intervention in an already PSU sectors, and that too happening in such a way, I think investors generally don't like some of these things, and that is very clear that of course government has to meet its disinvestment targets. So they will do everything what is possible for them to get their disinvestment money. But at the same time, the way this process is being gone about, I think that it will not really enthuse the investors, and in my opinion, rightly so, because the fear is that a lot of things can be either compromised or it will come at some cost, which ultimately will be at the cost of the investor. So I think that fears will still be at the top of the mind whenever anybody looks at some of these companies.
Just want to revisit so much going on with respect to the global metal prices. Would you believe that, given the fact that we're seeing a bit of a decline, that now would be a good time to enter? What is the long-term visibility for metal companies, according to you?
So, well, we have seen a good improvement in the performance of these metal companies in the last 1 year, and possibly even the last quarter has been pretty decent. But my own take is that this has been largely supported by the tariff imposition which has been done. I think post-Trump era, we have seen a lot of governments, especially in the emerging market governments, have really emerging market countries have really imposed a lot of tariff barriers on a lot of things, whether it is chemicals, whether it is metals. So I think this is really helping them show a very good performance. So my worry, of course, is that whether this thing can be considered as secular and on a long-term basis, I'm not too sure on that. Whether this imposition of tariff, which is helping all the companies, should be taken as a long-term change which is happening. And second, of course, that the economic recovery in the world is always a cause for worry. And I think amidst all that, possibly it is the commodity prices or the steel prices have come off a bit. But by and large, I think we can still expect, even at the current prices, or maybe even if it comes down somewhat a little more, the performance of the companies will continue to be very good over next 3 to 4 quarters very easily. And it's very difficult, being a commodity, to take a very long-term view on any of these commodities. So I think next 3 to 4 quarters will certainly be very good.
Right. Just discussing and seeing that free fall in Yes Bank, Dilip, I'm guessing it's a clear avoid for you. Or do you think after this fall, just seeing where the stock price settles, it may be at a zone where you think one could start nibbling in? Because December 13th and is when we are understanding that the selection committee is going to put forth names and nominees who they think are viable for Rana Kapoor's job.
Sorry, that question is for me?
Yes, that's right, Dilip.
Well, I think I would be tempted to say that one should look at Yes Bank purely from the fundamentals point of view. But unfortunately, I cannot say that, largely because, right now there's so many things which have happened and so many things which are happening, and every day something new is happening. And ultimately it should not so happen that the business prospect of the company gets impacted, or whatever growth that they have been showing, that gets impacted because of the kind of noise that we are hearing about Yes Bank. And it's not just mere noise, it's more of a regulatory noise that we keep on hearing. So I think given that scenario, there is no doubt the stock price has come down to a very attractive level, and I heard what your technical analyst also said, that it would come down further, and maybe one is tempted to say, but I think the prudent approach would still be that still stay away. You could see some bounce backs, you could see some spurts here and some spurts there. But I think till the time one gets a lot of clarity, and then if you want to buy, even if you want to buy 20% higher, it doesn't matter. But till the time you don't get clarity on that, I don't think that one should really venture out to, try to be brave and try to buy Yes Bank at this moment.
Right. Dilip, if we just look at, Yes Bank or probably some of these NBFCs that are going down, would you just want to reduce the weightage on financials, or is this the time to buy stronger names into the sector? Because whenever the recovery will happen, the stronger will actually emerge as a much stronger player or with a higher market share.
So my broader call on this is that the stronger players like Bajaj Finance, Mahindra Finance, I think maybe to a great extent even L&T Finance, some of the stronger names will continue to do very well, and possibly they will have some kind of pricing power back, and the NIMs would also expand. So on the growth side, some of these would really grow. But if one were to analyze the overall environment in which we are operating, it is very clear that NBFCs now will have to live with a lot of constraints and with a hawkish eye from the Reserve Bank of India. And I think some of the things that they were earlier doing, which really fueled a huge growth for them, I think that will come increasingly under question mark, or will come increasingly under the pressure. And under such circumstances, I think what broadly happens, if my experience tells me, is that there will be a broader derating of NBFC on an overall basis. So even if, some of the frontline Bajaj Finance and all will still show much better performances, but overall there will be a contraction of P for some of the, for the entire sector. And I think that will result in, even though some of the front lines doing very well, you won't see a commensurate increase in the price as what we would have earlier thought when all these things were not existing. All of us were so bullish on NBFC, but the change to regulation has put a kind of a dampener and a kind of a derating.
The Telecom Pact, every day you get some news flow with stocks going down. How would you essentially approach the Telecom Pact, or maybe even Reliance Industries?
So I just said earlier that I think Telecom Pact is best left alone. I don't think that we should really look at it at the moment, because things are only getting more competitive. Disruption is happening very fast, and as what I just also said, that companies will continue to will have to invest in a big way if they have to remain afloat in terms of the competition and in terms of technology. So it's a combination which is not really very good, rather very bad, I would say. So one should stay away from the pack. And as far as Reliance is concerned, I think as what I said, that they have successfully disrupted the competition. That's very good from their perspective. But to make a reasonable ROI out of their own investments, and not to forget that they will still have to make some huge investments further as they go up to ultimately achieving what they wanted to achieve in terms of the broadband, and how to really tap the entire investment. So I think that being the case, I think Reliance also possibly will have to suffer the impact of the high investments. I think the petroleum side will really bail them out in a big way.
Right. Okay, Dilip, thanks so much for taking the time out and joining us today. Glad that you could take time out and speak with us on your views on the markets. 4 minutes.